Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a topic that feels like it's been plucked from, well, the most intriguing science fiction, really.
Hmm.
Yet the ideas resonate deeply through ancient wisdom, modern psychology, and even some pretty cutting-edge scientific research.
Absolutely.
We're talking about unseen forces, hidden controllers, and manipulation so subtle it might be shaping your reality without you even realizing it.
Yeah.
Our focus, the pervasive, sometimes frankly shocking concept of parasites. And no, we're not just talking about the biological kind that, make you squirm.
Exactly. We're venturing into these unsettling realms of what some people call mind parasites or energy vampires,
Mm.
and their astonishing, often disturbing connections across history and different fields of study.
It really is a journey that challenges our conventional understanding of agency, influence, maybe even free will itself. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack a truly diverse stack of sources you've shared with us. We'll be navigating from the cryptic world of ancient Gnostic texts and Taoist spiritual beliefs,
Right.
all the way through to contemporary psychological theories and some truly compelling scientific research.
Quite a range.
It is. Our goal is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from these seemingly disparate ideas, helping us all understand what they might tell us about the forces that could truly be influencing our reality and our behavior.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to being well-informed.
Yeah, exactly. Packed with surprising facts and just enough, mind-bending insights to keep you utterly hooked. Let's peel back the layers.
All right.
So we're going to kick things off in the shadowy, often misunderstood corners of ancient thought, specifically with the Gnostics.
The Gnostic.
These early mystics and seekers, living centuries ago, held a truly radical view of the universe. They didn't see our material world as this benevolent, orderly creation. Instead, many of them viewed it as a kind of cosmic prison, a realm of illusion.
And what's truly fascinating here is their core cosmology. They proposed that the material world we inhabit wasn't created by the ultimate true divine source, which they called the pleroma.
The pleroma realm of light and perfection.
Right. Infinite light, wisdom, perfection. Instead, they believed it was the product of a flawed, blind, sort of lesser entity. This entity they called the demiurge.
The demiurge, often equated with the Old Testament God, right?
Often, yes. The Gnostics saw the demiurge as a cosmic imposter, basically ignorant of the higher, true realms of divinity and singularly obsessed with control, with imitation, and just maintaining its limited material creation.
And this is where their concept of the Archons comes in. So these weren't benevolent guardians or angels. Not at all.
Not even close. The Gnostics described them as the agents, or maybe servitors, of this demiurge. Entities spawned not from spirit or true divinity, but from chaos and error within the demiurge's own flawed creation.
Okay.
They were depicted as soulless, inorganic, and parasitic. And here's where the insight truly deepens. The Gnostic texts emphatically highlight their profound lack of true creativity.
Creativity.
None. These Archons, it said, cannot originate thought or genuine inspiration. All they can do, apparently, is imitate, copy, and deceive. They are the ultimate cosmic copycats.
Wow, cosmic copycats, that's a crucial distinction then.
It is, and this imitation extends directly to how they interact with humanity.
Yeah.
The truly disturbing idea the Gnostics put forth is that these Archons don't feed on physical sustenance, like food or water, as biological creatures do.
So what do they feed on?
Their sustenance, their very energy source, is human emotion, particularly fear, confusion, and suffering.
Fear, confusion, suffering.
Yeah. If we connect this to the broader implications, imagine a world where the prevailing emotional states of humanity, the widespread anxiety, division, turmoil, are literally feeding these unseen entities, keeping them empowered and sustained.
So our emotions aren't just internal. They could be like, energy currency.
That's the chilling takeaway here, yes.
Yeah.
They might be a literal energy currency in a larger, unseen ecosystem.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Our sources delve deeply into their described capability for thought intrusion. This isn't just subtle suggestions or nagging doubts, is it?
No, it's more profound than that. It's about them inserting specific beliefs, impulses, and get this, even entire cultural systems into the human mind.
Entire cultural systems? Wow.
Yeah. So when you start to view aspects of our world through this Gnostic lens, a lot of what we observe, from media to politics, from divisive ideologies to mass hysteria, starts to look less like spontaneous organic development.
And more like engineered distractions.
Yeah. More like orchestrated distractions, exactly. It's almost as if humanity is following a script, maybe being nudged from behind the scenes.
Okay, that raises an even bigger question then. If these entities operate on such a deep level, could their interference extend beyond just individual minds?
Well, some esoteric theories from our sources suggest exactly that. The archonic influence isn't merely about personal thought intrusion, but reaches into the architecture of collective timelines.
Collective timeline.
Yeah, so it's not just about influencing current events, it's about subtly shaping the very flow of history itself.
Whoa, timeline manipulation. That's genuinely next level. So are we talking about the idea that entire historical epochs, wars, empires, even religions could have been subtly nudged into existence?
Precisely. Nudged into existence to create maximum division, suffering, and confusion. That's the claim.
That's an enormous paradigm-shifting claim.
It is. Our sources call this timeline distortion, proposing that humanity is trapped in these repeating cycles, endless conflict, collapse, rebuilding, over and over again.
Always reacting, never really breaking free.
Exactly. Always reacting, constantly caught in a loop, rarely truly evolving or breaking free. The insight here is that history itself might not be a purely organic unfolding, but potentially a curated experience designed to keep us in a specific, controlled state.
So from this Gnostic perspective, the Archons aren't just mental parasites. They're like custodians of a fake timeline.
Custodians of a false engineered timeline, yes. A loop designed to keep humanity from truly awakening to its divine origin and potential. It's argued that each generation inherits the trauma of the last, creating this cumulative burden. And to maintain this control, memories of, say, past golden ages of higher consciousness civilizations are dismissed as myth or fantasy.
Creating a sort of collective amnesia.
Exactly. This, according to the sources, creates a fog of amnesia where the Archons can thrive, ensuring we never remember our true capabilities or how to break the cycle.
And what's truly a curious overlap, one that genuinely blurs the line between ancient myth and modern anomaly, is its connection with phenomena like the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect.
Yeah, where large groups of people distinctly remember alternate versions of historical facts or pop culture things, memories that don't align with recorded reality.
Right.
Our sources provocatively ask if this is simply faulty memory, or is it a glitch, a symptom of deeper interference in the collective perception of time? It truly invites you to wonder if our shared reality is as stable as we believe it is.
And the overlaps continue in intriguing ways. There's a compelling connection drawn between the Gnostic Archon theory and certain alien abduction phenomena.
Alien abduction, how so?
Well, some experiencers, unlike those who describe the typical greys or maybe reptilians, report encounters with entities that are described as more ethereal, shifting forms, insect-like minds, and a cold mechanical consciousness.
Okay, so not your classic alien archetypes.
Right. These descriptions often lack any sense of emotionality or genuine curiosity from the entities. Just cold, mechanical.
These accounts really do echo the Gnostic descriptions of Archons, don't they? Inorganic, mind-centered, and emotionally void.
They really do. It makes you wonder if these interdimensional parasites are, masquerading behind countless masks using the fear of the unknown, or perhaps even our cultural narratives of aliens to fuel their presence across different cultures and time.
So if that's true, it invites the question, how deep does the deception go? How many of our stories, our narratives, are actually cleverly crafted veils?
It's a profound question. Now, let's pivot sharply from ancient Western mystics to ancient Eastern wisdom, specifically Taoist beliefs.
Okay, moving east.
Here, we encounter a different, yet equally unsettling concept of unseen controllers, the three worms. This is an ancient Chinese physiological belief that essentially demonic creatures live inside the human body.
Wow, demonic creatures inside the body. That's a truly visceral image.
It is. The Taoists believed these supernatural parasites, known as sanqi or sangchong, were insidious. Their primary malevolent purpose was to seek to hasten the death of their host.
Hasten death.
It was believed they allegedly entered a person at birth and resided in the three Dantian energy centers, critical energetic hubs located in the head, chest, and abdomen.
So internal saboteurs from birth.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Imagine living with that from the moment you're born.
What's particularly striking and quite unique in their belief system is the concept of their post-mortem transformation. What happens after the host dies?
After the human host dies, these worms are supposedly freed from the body and become malevolent spirits. But it doesn't stop there.
Oh.
Even more unsettling, they're believed to report their host's transgressions to the gods. essentially acting as internal spies and accusers in the afterlife.
Spies and accusers. So for the Taoists, these weren't just physical ailments then?
No, not at all. They were spiritual pollutants, influencing both life and what comes after.
So it wasn't just about hastening death or causing immediate illness?
Right. Our sources really emphasize the Taoist view that these three worms work to harm their host's health and fate by initiating sickness and inviting other disease-causing agents into the body.
Inviting disease? How?
The source vividly describes them as a biological agent, or like a Bluetooth for demons or demonic spirits.
Bluetooth for demons, that's quite an analogy.
It is, isn't it? It suggests a direct physical conduit for spiritual malevolence. Imagine them as tiny internal broadcasters, constantly inviting more trouble, weakening your defenses, and sabotaging your well-being, not just physically, but energetically and spiritually too.
A very holistic view of internal parasitic sabotage.
Exactly.
Now that we've delved into these profoundly ancient concepts, let's try and bridge the gap. Explore how these ideas, which seem so, well, out there, actually resonate with modern psychology and even compelling scientific research.
Yeah, it's truly fascinating to see how similar forces or patterns appear across such wildly different disciplines. It suggests maybe a deeper underlying truth.
So where do we see these parallels?
Well, what's truly compelling here is how influential figures like Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology,
Right, yeah.
he encountered similar forces within the human unconscious mind. He described them as autonomous psychic complexes that could dominate the mind and behavior.
Autonomous complexes.
Yeah.
Like independent entities within us.
Almost. Jung, despite being firmly rooted in psychology, acknowledged that these complexes seem to possess an intelligence and an agenda of their own. This suggests that even from a purely psychological perspective, there are internal forces that can exert control.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, our sources suggest that what Jung observed and what Gnostics describe might actually manifest in modern experiences that are often just dismissed as mental illness.
Kind of experience.
We're talking about very real, distressing phenomena like inner voices that aren't theirs, invasive thoughts that loop endlessly, sudden emotional spirals that feel engineered rather than natural.
Feels engineered.
Yeah, the source offers a provocative idea. These may be modern symptoms of an ancient affliction.
Wow. So not just chemical imbalances or trauma, but maybe something older.
Exactly, hinting at a pervasive, subtle intrusion into our inner landscapes.
And this resonance isn't limited to Western psychology, is it?
Not at all. Similarly, in shamanic traditions across countless indigenous cultures worldwide, we find descriptions of beings or entities under different names: tricksters, deceivers, shadow beings, sometimes spirit attachments.
And they share common traits.
They all share core, consistent traits. They lie, they manipulate, and crucially, they feed off of spiritual disconnection or a breakdown in a person's inner harmony.
This widespread commonality across diverse, ancient, and traditional belief systems, it suggests a shared metaphysical source, perhaps, or a fundamental pattern of influence.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, okay, here's where it gets truly interesting and incredibly relevant to our present moment. Our sources argue that the digital age, the very fabric of our modern lives, has introduced a whole new layer to the Archon hypothesis.
A new layer? How so?
Think about it. The algorithms shaping our perception, the infinite scrolls designed to keep us distracted, divided, and drained. Could these be sophisticated modern manifestations of that same unseen parasitic influence the Gnostics spoke of?
The resemblance is, frankly, uncanny, particularly when we consider the rapid development of artificial intelligence.
AI like the Archons.
Well, AI even now bears an uncanny resemblance to Gnostic descriptions of Archons. It's described by our sources as soulless mimicking intelligence, void of empathy, and obsessed with replicating human behavior.
Soulless mimicking intelligence, void of empathy. That's chilling.
It raises an important and unsettling question. Is AI merely a tool that we control, or could it become a vessel or even a new emergent form of these archonic influences? Given its ability to process, imitate, and ultimately influence human thought and behavior on a global scale.
So we might be inadvertently building the systems that could mimic or amplify these ancient parasitic forces.
That's the implication, yeah. We might be.
And it goes even deeper into our daily lives. We live in a world where data is harvested, attention is weaponized, and emotional responses are engineered at scale.
Right. Engineered responses.
Social media, in this light, is presented as a kind of hive mind laboratory where emotions are mined, behavior is steered, and consciousness is fragmented.
fragmented consciousness.
The unsettling conclusion, if we accept this perspective, is that the more distracted we are, the more controllable we become. The source states quite directly that Archons manifest through systems of belief, through memes, through trends and technologies that pull our focus away from our true nature.
So even our digital habits could be, in a way, feeding these forces.
That's the argument, drawing us away from self-awareness and into a state of heightened susceptibility.
Okay, now let's shift focus again, this time to the undeniable, scientifically documented phenomenon of biological parasites.
Right, the stuff we can actually see under a microscope.
Exactly. This isn't theory or ancient text. This is real-world empirical proof of organisms that literally manipulate their host behavior, sometimes through direct brain hijacking.
Brain hijacking.
Yeah. The insight here is that if a simple biological organism can exert such profound control, what does that imply about the more subtle, unseen influences we've been discussing?
It's truly mind-boggling when you look at the compelling examples from nature, like the Gordian worm and the cricket.
Ah, yes, the cricket suicide worm.
Exactly. The worm needs water to mate, but the cricket lives on land. So the worm, once inside, secretes proteins that literally mess with the cricket's navigation.
Makes it jump around erratically.
Right, moving closer to water, and eventually it just leaps in, often drowning in the process. Then the worm wriggles out to mate. It's direct, fatal manipulation.
It's incredible. Or consider the rabies virus. Horrifyingly effective.
How does that work again?
Infects mammals, travels to the brain, causes inflammation. But before it kills, it orchestrates behavioral changes to guarantee transmission. It increases aggressiveness and ramps up the production of rabies-transmitting saliva while making it hard to swallow.
So the host is more likely to bite and pass it on.
Precisely. The virus literally transforms its host into a transmission machine.
Then there's the infamous Cordyceps, the zombie fungus.
The zombie ant fungus, right. Terrifying stuff.
Its spores infect an ant, spread through its body, reach the brain. Then the fungus induces convulsions that make the ant fall from the tree, compels it to wander mindlessly until it stumbles onto a plant leaf with the perfect fungal breeding conditions.
The death grip location.
Which it latches onto with its mandibles. Then the ant dies, clamped there, and from its neck the fungus grows a stalk.
Which erupts with spores to infect more ants below. A horrifyingly effective reproductive cycle.
Yeah. And Plasmodium, the malaria parasite, it manipulates too, right? More subtly.
Yeah, more subtly but effectively. It needs mosquitoes to shuttle between humans, so it makes mosquitoes bite more frequently and for longer.
Increasing its chances of transmission.
Right. And there's also evidence that humans already infected with malaria are paradoxically more attractive to mosquitoes.
Creating a positive feedback loop. Wow.
It's an intricate, multi-species system, all orchestrated by the parasite for its survival.
And then we arrive at one of the most widely discussed and truly unsettling examples. Toxoplasma gondii, or T. gondii.
Ah, toxo, the cat parasite.
Right. It needs both cats and rodents for its life cycle. When a rat gets infected, usually by eating cat feces, the parasite triggers changes in the rat's brain chemistry. It doesn't just make it sick, it makes it less cautious around the hungry felines, maybe even attracted to them, specifically their urine.
Attracted to cat pee. Seriously.
Seriously. Makes them easy prey, ensuring the parasite completes its life cycle by getting into the cat. It's definitive mind control, pushing prey towards its predator.
That is just incredible. But the really striking and concerning aspect of T. gondii is how common it is in humans.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering. Our sources say more than 40 million people in the United States may be infected, and globally, around 1 to 2/3 of humans are infected in some places.
1 to 2/3. That's huge.
It is. And while it's often asymptomatic in healthy people, it can cause serious health problems for pregnant women and the immunocompromised birth defects, neurological issues.
Right. The risk during pregnancy is well known.
But here's where the provocative question our sources raise really hits home. There's even evidence that the parasite affects human behavior.
Affects human behavior? How?
Well, studies have linked it to things like increased risk-taking, personality changes, even connections to mental health conditions. When you pause to consider that more than half of the species on Earth are parasites in some form,
more than half,
you can't help but wonder, as the source puts it, how much of human behavior is actually parasites doing the talking.
Wow. That forces you to pause and fundamentally reconsider what we attribute to our own conscious agency, doesn't it?
It really does. Could those inexplicable urges or shifts in mood have a microscopic parasitic origin? It's a chilling thought that our free will might be constantly under siege from within.
Okay. We've traversed from unseen forces like Archons and Taoist worms to these mind-controlling biological parasites. Now let's delve into something that hits even closer to home, something you might have unknowingly encountered. Psychic vampirism.
Psychic vampirism. Sounds dramatic.
It does, but our sources define this not as a mere metaphor, but as a direct exchange of energy between people in which one is basically predator of the other victim.
A direct energy exchange, like predator and prey.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating and a crucial detail in our sources is that this isn't simply about the victim being sucked of their life force or their will or some other asset.
It's not just draining.
The sources uniquely posit a two-way signal. The victim's energy battery or cell, a repository, is being flooded by the negative toxic energy of somebody else.
Flooded? So you're being used as a dumping ground?
Precisely. The victim is used as a sort of processor to flush and clean themselves of the psychic vampire's emotional and energetic pollution. It's not just a drain, it's energetic dumping. Your vital reserves used as a toxic waste disposal site.
That's terrifying. And here's the counterintuitive, almost heartbreaking part. The sources say it's the best of people who attract the psychic vampire.
The best people. Why?
It's not just that they want to suck on the light or positive energy. The victim is, from the vampire's perspective, seen as a kind of a dumpster for the vampire's maxed out toxic energy.
So they target people with inner beauty, innocence.
Individuals with inner beauty and bounty and innocence are often the ones precisely targeted. They are chosen because they possess the very qualities the vampire lacks and desperately needs to offload their own internal mess onto.
Okay, this raises an important question for you, the listener. How do you even spot such a predator, especially when they aren't obviously villains?
Right, how do you detect them?
Psychic vampires are described as human predators, the parasites, who are very hard to detect. They often present a deceptive persona, a mask that is particularly attractive, particularly light, particularly effervescent.
A charming facade.
Exactly. A facade painstakingly designed to hide their true nature, which our sources unflinchingly describe as the dirtiest, most evil buggers on the earth. They often overput marzipan on the top, have an extra sweetness, will extra love bomb you.
Extra sweet, like too good to be true.
It's an over-the-top, almost saccharine presentation meant to disarm and hook you.
And that love bombing you mentioned that's highlighted as a massive, massive, massive warning sign by our sources.
Love bombing. Explain that.
This is when the vampire offers overwhelming amounts of attention, affection, often lavish goodies, showering you with validation. They frequently target those who are hungering for love or are desperate in their spirit for friendship, making them particularly vulnerable.
So they prey on vulnerability.
Yeah. The insidious goal is to make the victim so grateful, so thankful for this initial outpouring that they overlook the toxic, manipulative elements that inevitably follow. It's a calculated strategy to create instant, deep dependency.
Okay, so for you, the listener, a critical piece of advice emerges from this material. Constantly monitor your own emotions and energetic state.
Pay attention to how you feel around certain people.
Exactly. Our sources urge you to ask yourself, do you ever actually think about that this person just come into the room, or this person is just talking with me and suddenly my mood has changed? 5 minutes ago, I was in a good mood. Now I kind of feel different as something happened in that time.
That sudden, unexplained shift.
That shift is a key indicator of toxic overload. This energetic dumping can lead to very real consequences. Mental issues, chronic fatigue, pervasive black thoughts.
Another absolutely key point to remember about these vampire types, according to the sources, is that they are not particularly rational people, and their actions are consistently driven by irrationality.
Not rational, so logic won't work.
Pretty much. So if you find yourself in such a dynamic, our sources strongly advise that you don't expect them to act rationally or get entangled and engaged with irrational types. Trying to use logic or reason with them will likely be futile and just lead to more frustration.
You have to recognize their operating system is different.
Right. And adjust your expectations for your own self-preservation.
And if you, as the victim, attempt to break free from such a relationship, be explicitly warned by our sources, the problems will amp up, they won't get less.
It gets worse when you try to leave. Why?
These vampire types can sense your discontent and perceived withdrawal of their energy supply. They may resort to intense guilt trip tactics, incessant blame, exaggerated pity party performances, or comparing you unfavorably to others they've manipulated.
So they fight hard to keep you hooked.
Yeah. Breaking free will be deeply challenging, often met with escalating resistance designed to pull you back into their orbit.
It's vital to reiterate that the energy exchange in these relationships is fundamentally involuntary on the victim's part.
Involuntary.
Yeah. The vampire crosses the boundary and takes that which he has no right to take. And what little they might give back in return is inadequate and does not replace what he takes. The victim is always shortchanged.
Always shortchanged. That's the core truth of the dynamic. A continuous, uncompensated depletion of your vital resources for the vampire's benefit.
And our sources even discuss a particularly disturbing and tragic dynamic: parental psychic vampirism.
Parents as psychic vampires. That's dark.
It is. This refers to malignant vampiristic parents who live off the energy of their children, particularly those who envy their children's vitality and innocence. It's not just emotional abuse, it's seen as an energetic drain.
And the impact on the children.
Profound and often tragic, leading to severe pathology. Such parents, our sources note, can often drive their children to schizophrenia or other pathologies.
Drive them to schizophrenia. Wow.
And what's truly fascinating and deeply unsettling is that there are cases on record showing that the health of parents got worse as their children's health improved.
Really, suggesting a direct energy transfer or dependency.
It looks that way, as if the parent's well-being is directly tied to the child's depletion.
Good grief. This specific, highly destructive dynamic is graphically described as a praying mantis syndrome.
Praying mantis syndrome.
Yeah. In this chilling analogy, children literally offer their minds up to their parents so that the parents can use that field vamper aesthetically, parasitically. The field energy, the chi, the libido of a child, the innocence of a child.
Consuming the child's essence.
It's a powerful and disturbing image for an extreme form of psychological and energetic abuse. The insight here is that the deepest, most insidious forms of vampirism can occur within the most intimate family bonds.
So we've dissected the frightening reality of psychic vampirism. But where does this behavior truly originate? Our sources propose a comprehensive vampire equation and delve into the very roots of evil and pathology.
The roots of evil. How do the sources define evil?
Michael Surian, cited in our sources, defines evil not as some supernatural force, but as the act of self-murder, a condition of being psychologically dead, which is described as a gradual, insidious process.
Psychological death. Self-murder.
Yeah. He points out that experts often shy away from the term evil, preferring clinical descriptors like brain disease or mental derangement. This distinction is critical, viewing evil as an internal state, not an external force.
Okay, and the vampire equation, what is that?
It offers a powerful, multifaceted framework. Dysfunctional parenting plus oppressive society plus the creation of an idealized image or idealized self plus this dependency on approval, self-murder, a vampirism.
Wow, that's quite an equation. Dysfunctional parenting, society, idealized self, need for approval, leading to self-murder, which equals vampirism.
Exactly. It suggests that what we perceive as evil or vampiric behavior isn't innate depravity, but rather a deeply wounded, deadened psychological state born from a potent combination of early life experiences and broader societal pressures.
Let's zoom in on these significant societal contributions to this pathology. How does society play a role?
Our sources explain how society itself contributes to all forms of derangement emotionally and mentally. As society becomes more hectic, more artificial, more extrovert, constantly demanding external validation and performance.
Right, the pressure to perform.
Pathologies like anxiety, neurosis, narcissism, sociopathy, and ultimately suicide, violence, and war are all on the increase. It's described as a schizogenic society.
Schizogenic, meaning it fosters a fragmented, split psyche.
Yeah, a society actively producing mental and emotional dis-ease within its inhabitants.
And we are, quite simply, surrounded to a great extent by a sea of stimuli. The constant barrage of music, radio, TV, advertising, social media, much of which we create ourselves.
So much noise.
These stimuli, our sources argue, have less to do with our purely physical survival needs than they do with our psychological state. This constant overload leads to performed reactions instead of perceived experiences.
Performed reactions, like we're just acting out scripts.
Yeah, where genuine feeling is replaced by an endless cycle of fleeting, external novelty and constant change substitutes for authentic emotional processing. This artificial society, the sources contend, actively creates an artificial being, the vampire.
So our modern environment is kind of cultivating the conditions for this.
That's the insight, yeah. by keeping us perpetually externalized and disconnected from ourselves.
And this relentless societal pressure, when combined with dysfunctional parental influences, contributes to an erosion of reason, to an erosion of the child's intelligence.
Erodes intelligence how?
It makes them fundamentally vulnerable to every vampiristic creature that comes its way. It undermines their capacity for critical thinking, self-protection, and discerning who is truly good for them.
Okay, now let's unpack the profound and often devastating influence of parenting on the formation of these pathologies.
The parenting piece seems huge in that equation.
It is. The source emphasizes a chilling idea. There is no such thing as free will as far as children are concerned. It's an illusion.
No free will for children. That's strong.
Parents, in this view, dominate the minds of their children completely, often unconsciously pushing them to be aggressive, competitive, or subtly conditioning them to believe they are inherently bad, inadequate, undeserving, stupid, or evil. This early, absolute control lays the groundwork for severe self-alienation later on.
And humans, it seems, instinctively seem to want to avoid not only self-knowledge, but the experience of legitimate suffering.
We avoid pain, naturally.
Right. Instead of confronting pain and integrating difficult truths, we often seek to sidestep it, numb it, which, paradoxically, can lead to much deeper and more pervasive issues down the line. The avoidance of necessary discomfort fosters a breeding ground for pathology.
And this avoidance of self-knowledge and suffering directly contributes to the creation of the pseudo-self. Karen Horney's concept of the idealized image or idealized self is crucial here.
The idealized self, a counterfeit self.
Exactly. It's described as a counterfeit self created by individuals who are alienated from himself. This idealized self becomes more real to him than his real self, leading to profound self-hatred and a desperate need to maintain this false facade.
And parents contribute to this.
When parents seductively try to mold them according to their image of how they should be, rather than nurturing the child's authentic self, they create a distortion that produces the narcissistic disorder.
So narcissism isn't true self-love, it's a compensation.
That's the core insight, the desperate pathological attempt to compensate for a deeply fractured, unreal self.
And what's truly chilling is how the pretense of love, the pretense of pseudo-love, becomes a shield by way behind which the most evil people exist. And they can ply their trade by creating this facade, this mask.
Using the appearance of love as a weapon.
Yeah. It's terrifying to think that such a seemingly positive emotion can be so expertly weaponized, creating an impenetrable front for the most destructive behaviors, a masterclass in deception.
Dysfunctional parenting also profoundly contributes to a child's inability to delay gratification, leading to impulsive and often destructive behavior because they simply cannot delay gratification.
That lack of self-control, a hallmark of parasitic types.
A key component, yes. It fuels an immediate need to take from others.
Furthermore, parents, often unknowingly, teach children to suppress the awareness of hostility and insincerity in others, effectively blinding them to danger.
Teaching them not to trust their gut.
Essentially, yes. This leads them to give up the feeling itself, to shut down their emotional radar, ultimately creating frozen personality types or a frozen character.
Frozen. Emotionally numb.
Yeah. And the rage that is aroused because their autonomy has been destroyed becomes a destructive drive, buried deep, only to manifest in other destructive ways. This repression cripples their ability to navigate the world safely.
Childhood rejection, in particular, has a devastating long-term effect. It makes individuals chronically dependent on the approval of those who will never, ever give that approval.
Always seeking validation from the wrong places.
Exactly. They will always want to join in, just not to feel alienated, desperately seeking validation from those incapable of providing it authentically. Children, tragically, will deny their true needs and even shoulder the supposed guilt for the lack of love they didn't receive.
Perpetuating a self-sacrificing cycle that leaves them vulnerable and drained.
Precisely.
Now let's look at specific pathological archetypes that exhibit strong vampiric leanings, starting with what our sources call the neurotic vampire.
The neurotic vampire. How is neurosis described here?
As a disease of the ego, essentially a deep conflict between the concept of the self as expressed in its wishes and the valuation of the self as expressed in its superego standards.
So a battle between what you want and what you think you should be.
Right. Based on internalized rules, it's fundamentally a sign of ego weakness, often leading to regressing to infantile levels of functioning when stressed, reverting to childlike patterns.
And the symptom?
A pervasive lack of feeling, a deep emptiness, a deep sense of frustration and unfulfillment, even when outwardly successful. They might appear too efficient, too mechanical, too perfect to be human.
Unsettlingly artificial.
Yeah. Cognitively, neurosis is due to thinking incorrectly about the world, where irrational ideas induce adverse emotional states. And a key trait, nearly every neurotic is excessively afraid of or hypersensitive to being disapproved of, criticized, accused, found out.
That fear of judgment makes them vulnerable.
Extremely. And contributes to their draining dynamics.
Then there's the narcissistic vampire, a type many of us might unfortunately recognize.
Right. And the source clarifies a common misconception. Narcissism is an overcompensation for a basic lack of self-love, not genuine self-admiration.
So it stems from inferiority, dependence on external praise.
Often, yes. Stemming from inferiority and overdependence on external admiration. Crucially, it's described as a failure not of conscience but of empathy. They are incapable of truly connecting with others' feelings.
And they use defense mechanisms to protect that fragile self.
A whole battery of them. Splitting, seeing self as purely good, others as purely bad, no shades of gray, devaluation, tearing others down, idealization, putting others on a pedestal, then knocking them off, and constant denial of their own flaws or harm.
All to maintain that inflated self-image.
At others' expense. Behaviorally, narcissistic vampires are highly demanding. They expect you to immediately drop what you're doing and attend to them.
Exactly.
Very. They often feel entitled to use your possessions without asking, and they consistently withhold approval, leaving you perpetually yearning for their validation. They exhibit constant disapproval, often masked as concern, endless talk of sin, karma, foreboding.
And they're fueled by envy.
Deep, gnawing envy of inner beauty and genuine vitality, qualities which they profoundly lack. They feed on your light precisely because they have none of their own.
They also exhibit an overarching need for instant gratification and a profound inability to contain desire or tolerate frustration.
Impulsive, can't handle frustration.
Right. They take nothing seriously, seeing everything for its entertainment value, which makes genuine connection impossible.
Right.
They're fundamentally shallow, but is extremely adept at hiding this fact as part of their game playing.
Hiding their shallowness.
Yeah. They actively avoid heavy experiences or deep emotional processing, preferring instead to constantly change the external pattern of their lives, new relationships, new jobs, new places, rather than facing their internal troubles.
A frantic chase to avoid their own inner emptiness.
That's the insight. Their entire existence is a desperate chase for external stimulation.
We've explored ancient concepts and psychological parallels, but let's now dive into one of the most provocative ideas from our sources, one that truly pushes the boundaries. The demonic parasite hypothesis.
The demonic parasite hypothesis. This sounds intense.
It is. It makes the bold claim that parasites are actually demons in biological form, or maybe that they serve as a biological antenna for the spiritual wickedness in high places.
So, parasites and demons. Two sides to the same coin. Manifestations across different dimensions, but with a shared malevolent agenda.
That's the suggestion. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's fascinating to note the shared malevolent traits.
How so?
Like what is described as demons in various spiritual texts. Biological parasites are said to cause mental and physical illness, feed off of their host's negative emotional energy, and ultimately bring the host physical and mental illness.
Drawing a direct parallel between spiritual and biological affliction, suggesting the line is thinner than we think.
Exactly. The insight is that many symptoms we attribute to one realm might actually have roots in the other.
And the biblical and historical connections are truly striking when viewed through this lens.
Yeah.
Like Beelzebub.
All right. Beelzebub, whose name literally means Lord of the Flies and Lord of Dung or Lord of Filth, is directly linked by our sources to the fact that flies apparently can carry parasites that can harm humans and animals.
So not just a metaphor, but connecting ancient deities of disease to actual biological vectors.
Wow.
Could these ancient figures of malevolence have been symbolic representations of parasitic forces?
It makes you wonder. Another compelling biblical account is Jesus casting legion, a multitude of demons, into a herd of pigs.
And the pigs immediately run down and drown themselves, right?
Exactly. Which parallels, in a remarkably specific way, the observed behavior of certain parasites we discussed earlier, like Toxo driving rats to cats, or the Gordian worm forcing crickets to commit suicide by drowning.
So is this ancient text describing a phenomenon we're only now scientifically understanding as parasitic mind control? It offers a startling alternative interpretation.
Let's talk about specific, truly unsettling effects on human behavior and health mentioned in the sources.
Okay.
They discuss how demons in the Bible are often depicted as causing and influencing suicidal behavior, like in Mark 9:22, where a demon tries to cast a boy into fire or water to destroy him. This is directly connected by our sources to modern studies showing the T. gondii parasite can trigger suicide attempts and suicidal behavior in humans.
Toxo linked to suicidal behavior.
Yeah. The source questions whether these self-destructive thoughts are truly human in origin, suggesting they are inherently anti-human by logic. It's a profound thought. Are some of our darkest impulses not our own, but whispers from an unseen parasitic influence?
Furthermore, both demons in the Bible and parasites are consistently connected to psychosis and other human diseases, both physical and mental.
Like what?
T. gondii specifically is linked to schizophrenia and other bipolar disorders, with numerous studies finding elevated levels of anti-T. gondii antibodies in patients with major mental illnesses.
Wow. Schizophrenia, bipolar.
The connections extend to multiple personality disorder, possibly a fragmentation link to this, and rage disorders. And quite surprisingly, it's linked to child maltreatment. Those who mistreat children are more likely to have parasites.
Suggesting a disturbing loop where infection might contribute to the abusive behavior itself?
That's the implication, a cycle of dysfunction.
It gets even more provocative. A startling claim is made that the T. gondii parasite can hijack a person's mind and alter human sexual desires and influence humans to engage in abnormal sexual practices such as BDSM and have an attraction to sexual violence.
Alter sexual desires, influence engagement in BDSM or attraction to sexual violence? That's extremely controversial.
It is. It's stated quite directly and boldly that parasites can control our cognitive functions and desires. This is a truly radical notion, suggesting that even our most intimate desires might not be entirely our own, but manipulated by microscopic invaders.
Beyond these profound mental and behavioral effects, parasites are also linked to a wide array of physical ailments: deafness, blindness, cancers, and all kinds of issues.
And cravings too, right?
Gut health. What's particularly compelling for our everyday lives is how microbes and parasites in the gut can manipulate your eating behavior to increase their fitness, making you crave foods that benefit them.
Like processed foods, sugars.
Particularly processed foods, sugars, processed carbohydrates, which are conveniently their primary fuel source. This draws a direct connection to the sin of gluttony and the pervasive fast food advertising we see daily.
So our cravings might not be personal weaknesses, but engineered desires from within, guiding us towards foods that empower our internal tenets.
That's the unsettling insight, yes.
Moving beyond the explicit connections between demons and parasites, our sources present some fascinating ideas about biblical commandments acting as highly effective anti-parasitical defenses.
Biblical commandments as parasite defense. Like what?
For instance, fasting is presented as one of the best parasite cleanses out there. Jesus' statement in Matthew 17:21 that certain powerful demons can only be cast out through prayer and fasting takes on a profound dual meaning here.
Implying both a spiritual and a physical remedy.
Exactly. It's noted that regular fasting can lead to profound mental clarity and significant improvements in various physical ailments, a spiritual practice with tangible physiological benefits against parasitic influence.
Similarly, the extensive dietary law found in the Bible, specifically in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, is seen as inherently anti-parasite.
The dietary laws? How?
Our sources point out that the unclean animals prohibited for consumption like pork, shellfish, bottom feeders are often precisely the animals that are more likely to be a haven for parasites.
So not just arbitrary rules, but maybe sophisticated public health guidelines against parasites, maintaining physical and spiritual purity.
That's the suggestion. Divinely inspired guidelines.
And briefly, the biblical commandment not to sleep around, not to lust, is also mentioned as a powerful protective measure against being infested with parasites or infected with parasites.
Suggesting sexual promiscuity opens pathways for parasitic and energetic attachments, reinforcing that holistic view.
Right. Our actions across all realms have tangible consequences.
Finally, let's circle back to the cat's pivotal role in the T. gondii life cycle, and then explore some highly speculative yet intriguing ancient Egyptian symbolism.
Okay, the cat connection first.
We've already established that T. gondii's definitive host, the only place where its sexual reproduction can occur, is the cat. Hence the caution for pregnant women regarding cat feces.
Right, but the Egyptian symbolism, that sounds fascinating.
Here's a truly fascinating and speculative connection from our sources. The serpent symbol on their headdress, worn by ancient Egyptian pharaohs.
The Uraeus serpent. traditionally seen as the third eye or power.
Right. But our source proposes a radically different and quite unsettling alternative. It suggests this serpent could be interpreted as a demonic parasite, perhaps a symbolic representation of something like Tigandai or a similar mind-controlling entity.
Controlling the pharaoh's mind.
Controlling the pharaoh's body and mind, coiled up in the brain like near the pituitary gland. It paints a picture of royalty itself being a vessel for a parasitic intelligence.
Offering a completely different lens on ancient power structures. Could the wisdom of the pharaohs have been influenced or even co-opted by an unseen resident?
It's a wild speculative thought, but intriguing given everything else.
So, if all of this is true, these ancient Gnostic Archons, manipulating timelines, Taoist worms within us, real biological parasites hijacking behavior, pervasive psychic vampires, how do we as individuals resist? How do we reclaim our authentic selves?
Well, thankfully, our sources offer potent pathways to resistance, starting with profound Gnostic wisdom.
Okay, what did the Gnostics teach about resistance?
They taught a crucial truth. The human spirit originates not from the flawed demiurge, but from the pleroma, the true divine source. This means we inherently carry within us an innate creativity, our compassion, our ability to question and to dream.
That divine spark within us.
That core truth, that divine spark, is fundamental to liberation. It means we are fundamentally distinct from the parasitic forces.
And here's where the insight becomes truly empowering. The sources say, Archons can only imitate, we can innovate.
Imitate versus innovate.
Right. This inner divine spark, our capacity for true originality, empathy, and genuine love, is precisely what makes us dangerous to their control. They thrive on repetition, on predictable loops, on imitation. Our capacity to create, to break patterns, to genuinely innovate with our consciousness is the ultimate threat. It is our true superpower.
And the first, foundational step, according to Gnostic thought, is simply awareness.
Just being aware.
Awareness is the first step, our sources emphasize, because once the illusion is seen, it begins to lose its grip. Merely recognizing these patterns, understanding the possibility of these influences, or simply becoming conscious of how your own energy might be drained starts to diminish their power.
Like turning on a light in a dark room.
Exactly, where shadows have been playing tricks.
And to reclaim our sovereignty, what practical techniques are suggested?
Practices like meditation, lucid dreaming, conscious observation, and the breaking of habitual thought loops. The more you become the observer of your own mind, stepping back from automatic reactions and conditioned responses,
the less susceptible you are to outside influence. Cultivating radical self-mastery, making your inner world a fortress.
Ultimately, the Gnostics taught that knowledge, true inner knowing or gnosis, was the path to liberation, not belief, not blind obedience, but direct experiential knowing of the truth beyond the veil of illusion.
Gnosis. Direct inner knowing.
Yeah. This is a powerful call to wake up, to stop feeding what feeds off of us, to unplug from the illusion and reconnect to the divine signal that was never truly lost. It's an invitation to a profound inner revolution.
Beyond ancient wisdom, our sources emphasize the critical importance of psychological hygiene and establishing strong, healthy boundaries in your life.
Psychological hygiene. What does that entail?
The core idea here is that deep knowledge of the innermost foundations of my being is absolutely needed to base myself firmly on the eternal facts of the human psyche. You must know yourself, fundamentally.
And suffering. We've mentioned avoiding it leads to problems. How should we approach it?
Suffering is radically reframed. Our sources state that suffering is the inevitable path that must be trod on the way to consciousness. Attempting to evade it, numb it, or bypass it only puts us into the karmic cycles that repeat endlessly and produce nothing.
So embracing suffering leads to growth.
The strength that genuinely grows from facing sorrow and pain has to do with the kind of transcendent experience that brings inner fortitude. Suffering, when embraced, isn't a weakness, but a catalyst for profound personal growth and resilience against parasitic influences.
And on a practical, everyday level, boundaries.
We're strongly encouraged to have stronger boundaries in our normal relationships. This means not putting oneself up for sale to the first person that comes along, metaphorically speaking. Valuing your own time, energy, emotional space. Recognizing not everyone deserves unlimited access.
We must also cultivate a strong internal locus of meaning. We must not allow the world to give us meaning. We must do it for ourselves.
Don't rely on external validation.
Right. Our sources assert nobody has anything we need psychologically and emotionally. It's all within our own capacities, all within our own hands. Giving over your sense of self, your self-worth, to external sources leads to all forms of tyranny, including parasitic dynamics.
Your inner world is your sovereign territory. Defend it fiercely.
Exactly. And as we touched on earlier when discussing psychic vampirism, monitoring our own emotions and trusting our intuition is absolutely paramount.
Trusting those gut feelings.
Psychic vampires, our source says, always show you who they are, but you are not able to digest it. Your internal alarm bells, those subtle shifts in mood or energy, are your crucial warning system. This is what's called psychic hygiene.
Sanity connected to sanitizing your energetic space.
Essential for living sanely in an unseen world. You wouldn't neglect your physical hygiene. Why neglect your psychic?
When dealing with psychic vampires directly, what's the advice?
Very clear. Disengage and be clever. Our sources warn that when victims try to break free, the problems will amp up. They won't get less, as vampire types can sense your discontent.
So don't just run away blindly.
No. It's crucial to disengage strategically, have your own witnesses, prepare things, be clever, and above all, act rationally in the face of their irrationality. This isn't a fight you win with emotion, but with clear-headed strategy.
The ultimate resistance is framed as soul retrieval. What does that mean?
Actively taking back energetically what they've taken from you, and a profound act of self-exorcism by drawing the circle of protection around yourself.
Consciously reclaiming your energy, yourself.
Yeah, a conscious, intentional reclaiming of your vital energy, your fragmented self, and your personal autonomy. Yeah. An act of deep internal healing and empowerment.
Then there's a particularly provocative and highly specific to one source stance on forgiveness.
Oh, what's that?
Under no circumstances ever forgive evil.
Never forgive evil. That goes against a lot of common wisdom.
It does. The source argues against sending blessings or good feelings to those who are evil, because projecting your own virtues onto them brought them in the door in the first place. Expecting change or empathy from those without conscience is illogical and dangerous.
So it challenges universal forgiveness, suggesting sometimes refusal to engage or validate is necessary for self-protection.
That's the argument presented, yes. A controversial one, definitely.
Finally, let's talk about holistic health, integrating body, mind, and spirit as a pathway to resistance.
The interconnectedness of it all.
Our sources emphasize that the spiritual and the physical realm are two and one and the same, and that what you do in the physical is a mirror of what's going on in the spiritual. Illness manifested physically can often be a direct indication of a spiritual or energetic imbalance.
They are inextricably linked, not separate.
And there's that deep, undeniable connection between gut health and emotions, with the belly being a crucial energy center where we profoundly feel fear, anxiety, and other emotions.
Highlighting the impact of our physical state, especially the microbiome, on our emotional and spiritual well-being, holistic health needs attention to all these aspects.
Exactly, and it all comes back to self-control, which is presented as a fundamental defense.
Self-control, how so?
The ability to control basic urges like food cravings is directly connected to spiritual warfare and overall self-control. If you can't control your stomach, our sources warn, there's a good chance you can't control anything else.
It's a fundamental discipline, strengthening internal resolve.
A daily practice that strengthens your internal resolve and makes you less susceptible to both biological and energetic parasitic influences. Mastery of the self begins with mastery of your most basic desires.
We've taken quite a journey today on the deep dive, exploring the fascinating and often unsettling world of hidden parasitic influences.
We really have. From the ancient Gnostic Archons, supposedly manipulating our timelines and feeding on our emotions,
to the Taoist three worms living within us, and the very real biological parasites like T. gondii that can profoundly hijack behavior.
We then connected these ancient ideas to modern psychological concepts like Jungian complexes and the digital age's algorithmic control.
Before delving into the profound and often painful dynamics of human-to-human psychic vampirism and the deep roots of evil itself within dysfunctional parenting and oppressive artificial societies.
It's clear that these forces, whether literal or metaphorical, are not new, but seem to be ever-present.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it? But the consistent thread connecting all these disparate sources is the powerful idea of forces seen and unseen that aim to diminish our autonomy, fragment our consciousness, and feed on our disconnection, fear, and suffering.
So what does this all mean for you personally right now? If fear, distraction, and ignorance are indeed the sustenance for these various parasitic forces,
yeah,
what kind of world could we create If humanity, individually and collectively, truly prioritize deep self-knowledge, emotional sovereignty, and the fearless pursuit of gnosis, of true inner knowing, directly experiencing truth beyond the veil of illusion.
Could this fundamental revolutionary shift in human consciousness fundamentally alter the very fabric of our perceived reality? Could it truly usher in a new, unenslaved human timeline, free from these cycles of influence?
And the powerful question to ponder.
We invite you to reflect deeply on these insights, consider how they might resonate with your own experiences, and perhaps take a courageous, deeper look at your own self-awareness and personal boundaries. Thank you for diving deep with us.